Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Gertrude Abbey. I'm a speech and language therapist. A topic, a topic for presentation is communication in children with autism spectrum disorder. And the objectives: to support parents and families with children on the autism spectrum to have a better understanding of communication, and also for them to understand ways to support their children's communication. By way of introduction, autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disorder that can cause significant social, communication, and behavior challenges. It's a spectrum, and therefore children can be anywhere on the spectrum. And then also the effect of ASD ranges from mild to severe. Where mild, the support the child needs from the family is very minimal, and severe, the support is small. What is communication? Communication is a process of transferring message or information from one person to the other. So with communication, there has to be a sender who has the message, and then a receiver, the one the message is being sent to. And then we also have to get a channel or a medium through which the message will be sent. It can be through talking, writing, facial expression, gestures. But then the most important thing is that the receiver has to be able to understand the channel through which the message is being sent, so that the sender will get a feedback. If the receiver doesn't understand the channel through which the message is being sent, it means there is no communication because the receiver has not gotten the information. We have types of communication. We have the verbal communication, which involves the use of words. We have the non-verbal, which involves gestures. We have visual communication, which is the use of drawings and pictures. We also have another group that is a social communication and functional communication. A social communication is the use of communication in our social context. So for instance, how to communicate when you're at home, how to communicate on the playground, how to communicate at school with other people and all that. And then we also have the functional communication, which is communicating your needs and then your wants independently. How does my child communicate? It's very important for us to know how our children communicate so that we support them. Does he scream? Does he cry? Does the child make sounds, facial expression? Does he look at what he wants and then look at the parents? Does he point? Has he started using single words? Is he combining words? Whichever way he communicates, we have to be able to know so that we support. What stage is my child's communication? We have stages of communication that we have to understand. We have the discoverer stage, where a message is where the child reacts to feelings. So it's not as if the child has an intention of communicating anything to anybody. All the child does is to respond to how he feels. So for instance, he's hungry and then he starts to cry. He's crying because he's hungry, not because he's sending any message to anybody. And then we have the communicator who sends specific message without using words. So it can be through gestures, it can be through facial expression. Just look at the child and then you know. It can be through pointing. He's not really using words, but then he's communicating something to you. We have the first words. First words users. So with them, they are using single words. You can use a bit of signs or pictures. And then we also have the combining. So combine two or three words. So for instance, mama, water. They are combining words. Or mama, drink. Mama, eat. Yeah, they are combining their words. Then we have the complex communicators who are able to form sentences and then talk more into details and topics. Why we communicate? We communicate for various reasons: to express our needs, to make a request, to share information, to share ideas, express our emotions, how we feel about something, to socialize, make new friends, to protest, to answer or ask questions. We communicate, we follow directions, or share attention. Then let's look at the effects of ASD on communication. Children on the spectrum may find it difficult to relate or to communicate with other people. Most of the time, they don't know that communication is a two-way process. They just know they want something, or it's just them, and their environment is not really their concern. What happens in the environment does not really matter to them. So it's difficult for them to relate or to communicate with other people. And then they may not be able to understand non-verbal communication. So the child might be crying or might be going out, open the door and he is going out. And then you blink at the child or you make a facial expression. You may think that you are trying to communicate to the child, but then he might not understand what you are trying to communicate. Some may also be slow to develop language. So the child may be 4 years, 5 years, and still has difficulty with identification of simple everyday things like cup and spoon and all that. They don't understand, and even what to say, how to communicate their needs becomes a problem. They may have significant difficulties in understanding or using spoken language. So yeah, you are talking to them, you feel that they should understand, but they may not understand. They may also want to talk about what they are interested in and not what you want them to talk about. There are some who have developed language, they are able to make form complex sentences and talk extensively on topics. But these topics, normally it's what they want to talk about and not the topics you want them to talk about. They may be able to handle one thought or one idea at a time. So they are able to do one thing at a time. So for instance, the child is writing and you are also talking to the child. It's difficult for the child to be able to focus on both. What can be done? What we need is early communication intervention. So as early as possible, you have to support your child with communication. How early is it? How early do you want you to support? As soon as you notice that a child's communication is delayed, how will you know that the communication is delayed? A child is 1, getting to 2, he hasn't started using single words, he hasn't started really communicating anything, there's no pointing, you should be able to know that the child is delayed. So don't wait. Now the let's wait and see syndrome is over. We don't do that again. As soon as you notice that there's something wrong with your child, just seek for help. It's better for you to seek for help and then seek advice from a professional and then you'll be told that, oh, it's fine, than to sit and then wait. But those of us on the autism whose children are already on the spectrum, there is no time to be wasting because Each day counts. You have to be able to support the child. Why early intervention? As in research findings, several of them, these are just a few, that difficulties in communication is very closely linked to challenging behavior. So if the child is not able to communicate how he's feeling, maybe he's hurting, maybe his head is aching, maybe he has pain somewhere, or he's not happy. If he's not able to communicate it, he is going to communicate it in his own way. And then we will also see it as a challenging behavior. But it's just a means of communicating what he feels. So that's why it's saying that if they're having difficulty in communication, it's very closely linked to challenging behavior. Ability to communicate predicts functional and quality of life in adulthood. So if the child is able to communicate, if he's able to find a means to express himself, it's going to, it predicts how his quality of life is going to be when he grows up. The severity of communication difficulties in preschool age children is linked to the level of stress in their parents. So with the preschoolers, they are the parents are expecting the children to start talking and they haven't started. It increases their stress level. That's for the parents. So the severity of the child's difficulties is linked to the level of the parents' stress. So if you start early, the stress will also be reduced. Communication and language is the foundation for the development of other cognitive abilities like reading and writing. If the child is able to communicate, if he is able to um, understand that communication is a two-way process and therefore is able to learn from other people, is able to pay attention to what is happening in his environment, he's going to be able to read and then write. His cognitive abilities to be developed. But if he is not able to read what has been written, it's going to be very difficult for him to also use it in the future. So if he's able to communicate, that one, it's a foundation for his cognitive abilities to be developed. That's his reading, like the reading and writing. And then there is less language stimulation in children with communication disabilities, leading to a cumulative negative effect. Sometimes the children, you call them, they wouldn't mind you, you send them, they wouldn't go and all that. So sometimes you feel that, okay, let me just leave. But then that is rather the time that they need more stimulation, they need more language around them. The environment should be rich with language to support them. But then what we find is that they are rather left because it looks like they don't care about others or they don't pay attention to their environment. It's just them. Sometimes you feel that maybe they are being stubborn or all that. But then that is the way the autism affects them. What approach are we using? We have the indirect intervention, the direct intervention, and then we have the alternative and augmentative communication. That's the AAC. The indirect intervention is a way of working with the child. The speech therapist is working with the child through the parents. So it's not directly with the child or face to face with the child, but then the parent is coached, is educated, is supported to be able to work with the child at home. So what happens is that children learn more in their natural environment. So the parents are coached so that they can also coach the close people in the close network of the child to be able to know what to do around them. It can be, the training can be through video call, Zoom, face to face and all that. But there is a need to follow up to see what the child is doing, and then maybe add something or modify what we are doing. There are courses that parents are giving, like the modern works and then the jump starts. These are paid courses that parents are giving. But in Ghana here, we don't have an official course that we give to parents. But then what we do is that we give them the strategies that are used with the indirect intervention. So we have involvement in daily activities. So as much as possible, since the child is able to learn better in the natural environment, we have to engage the child in our daily routines and our daily activities. Not just doing the activities, but then you have to be talking as well once you do the activity. So involve the child in everything that you do. And then get child's attention before talking. It's very important for the child to know that you are talking to him or her. So for instance, Kofi, come. Mention the child's name for the child to know that you're talking to him. And then you continue with whatever you want to say. Reduce screen time. It's very important for us to reduce the hours we spend behind the TV. Sometimes we leave the children behind the TV and we go do our own things. Yes, sometimes we are so tight, but then we shouldn't continuously leave them behind the TV, because if they are delayed, it's not going to support language development. So what we need is rather more human interaction. We have to be able to play with them as well. Play is very important. Once you play with them, you are introducing language. You'll be talking what you are doing. You're talking about it, and then you're all enjoying it. Give opportunities to request or to talk. Sometimes we need to give, not sometimes, all the time, we have to give the children opportunities to talk. So you know that the child wants water. The child, give the child opportunity. How do you do that? Put the water somewhere. The child has seen the water, but then cannot reach it. So you should be able to communicate something. Even for the child to look at the water and look at you, it's a way of communicating. Then you also take the opportunity and mention the name, that is water. Then you take it and then give it to the child. As you do that, the child will understand that this is called water. Then you have to also simplify your language. We use very simple words, and we don't use complex sentences, long sentences. No, just go straight to the point. So for instance, Kofi, bring the cup. Kofi, bring the cup. You stress on what you want and you simplify it. If you are saying a child, you have to be very specific. Don't say something like, Kofi, take that thing for me, or take it for me. No, mention the name of what you want the child to take for you. So, Kofi, take the cup for me. That is how the child will be able to get the names of the things in his environment and understand them. You praise child's effort. Whatever the child does that you think that is worth praising, you have to praise it. Any effort that the child makes, please, there's a need for us to praise a child, so that we are going to boost the child's self-esteem, so that the child will continue to do whatever he's doing. And then be a good role model. You know, the child wants to say water, he's not able to say it well, or food, or something that a child wants. You know, he's not saying it properly. Just say it's for the child. And when you say, don't expect or insist that the child will repeat it after you. No, just say it's for the child, and just model it. Direct intervention. But the speech therapist works with a child one-on-one. But even this, whatever you are working on with a child at the clinic, it's very important for the parent to continue that activity with the child at home. Because, for instance, if the child is being seen once in a week, once every week, the rest of the days the child is at home, it's very important for continuity so that we get a better outcome. We have alternative and augmentative communication, as the AAC. With this, it's for those who are non-verbal, but those who have not started talking yet. At least they should have a means of telling us what they want, a means of communicating. So you have the unaided systems and then the aided system. With the unaided ones, you don't really need any equipment. You don't need anything tangible to hold to be able to do the unaided systems. So, for instance, the gestures, the sign language, we should be able to do that one. That one falls under the unaided systems. Then we also have the aided systems. With that, we have the low tech and then the high tech. The low tech ones are the very simple things that we use, but then the high tech ones, that one you need maybe a computer. Yeah, you need a computer and a speech generating device. So with the low tech, let's look at the low tech. The low tech, we have the picture exchange communication system, simply PECS. So we have the PECS, as the name goes, picture exchange. So the child gives you the picture in exchange for what the child wants. Gives you the picture in exchange of what he wants. So if he wants water, there's a picture of that. Your child gives it to you, and then you give the child water. And then also we have the communication boards, and so this is the PECS. There's the PECS. The child will give it to you. So out of the lot, the child removes what he wants and put it on the Velcro, and then or hands it over to you, and then you give the child what he wants. So with this one, it's done at use different environments so that the child will be able to generalize. You have the communication boards. With this, the child should be able to point to what he wants. So if the child is not able to point, it will be difficult for the child to use it. So you have to teach the child to be able to point. He points to what he wants. And then this one is a book. It's a book. So it's made up of different sections. So for instance, this is feelings. So I feel the child will be able to tell you how he's feeling this morning or any time of the day. He has to be able to understand and then tell you. And then also we have my body hurts. Which part? It could be that his head is aching. If he's not able to communicate that to you, he might communicate it in another way that we would think that is a challenging behavior. Then we have the visual support. So this one, it helps the children to do things step by step or sequentially. So we have this picture and this one also. So this one I'm using the potty. So pull pants down, pull underwear down, you go through it like that. So where the support to be needed, we paste it on the wall or wherever that support to be needed to help the child to follow it step by step. And then this is a high-tech one, a speech generating device. That one you have to buy it. You buy. Yeah. Now let's quickly look at the 5-point scale. This is a scale that helps the child to rate how he's feeling, his emotions. So with this, the parent and the child come up with things that everyday activities that might affect the child in some way. So for instance, if noisy, maybe somebody is shouting or screaming, or even writing, how do you feel when you write? Maybe writing makes me feel tired or I get bored. We will help the child to be able to identify how he feels with each activity that he does. Sometimes we leave spaces for things that we don't know that might happen. So we leave spaces so that we can fill them in whilst we go on. And then when you are able to identify the activities, what can you do? What can you do when you're in that zone? So from the blue all the way up, you should be able to identify how you feel. Like the car engine, if it's becoming overheated, it's not the best. So if you are going up, it's as if you are becoming overheated. You're becoming too anxious. So if you're becoming overheated, that's not what we want. So we have to do activities that will bring you or calm you down. Calm you down. So the green scale, the green part is what we normally want to get to. So you have to teach the child, just like you're using the pictures or the AACs to teach the child. Here too, you have to be able to teach the child to be able to understand. It's the same here. So these are things where the scale you are on, and then the activities you can do. Are you counting 1 to 10? Are you taking in deep breath? Are you taking a break? Maybe you're writing, you're tired. What do? You want a break. The teacher or whoever you are with should understand that you want a break. So you should also communicate that feeling to the teacher. All this we have to teach the child. And then tips for parents. There's a need for you to show love and interest. Sometimes the child just wants a hug. That's all the child wants. Just give the child a hug. Let the child feel that he's loved. He's loved. The fact that he's had or he's been diagnosed with autism doesn't mean that he's less a person. No. Let him appreciate him. Let him know that he's loved. You also have to believe in him. You don't know the capabilities or his potentials. So believe in him and then support him in every way you can. Believe in him. Don't give up on him. Then be patient. Sometimes we start a few interventions. After a week, after a month, after 2 months, you feel that no, this is not working. No, be patient. Some of them are very slow to pick up. So when you're patient, you're able to support them. And you also have to take care of yourself. If you need a break, you need a vacation, you need to buy something sweet for yourself, please go ahead and do it. Take care of yourself. Okay. What we are taking home. Every child is unique with unknown capabilities. Embrace yours and give all the support you can to support him. And give all the support you can to enable him reach his pinnacle. Let me take that again. Every child is unique with unknown capabilities. Embrace yours and give all the support you can to enable him reach his pinnacle. These are some useful links that we can go to read more. We have the Asha, we have the Hanan, we have all this. So we can just go and then read more on how to support our children with communication. Thank you very much.